So a new article from USA Today says that Gen Z is using therapy speak, and it's becoming a problem that is making that generation more selfish. We have been just during the commercial break. Our parenting expert, Dr. Cheryl Ziegler, joins us now. First of all, Gen Zers, what's become symbolic with them and how they communicate and things like that, and what is therapy speak?
Yeah, their big therapy speak of all of them is, I don't owe you anything. Oh, right? I don't owe you anything.
Back in the day, if we had said that.
So their thought is, right, like, I have my own life and boundaries. So maybe I missed work yesterday and you say, oh, is everything okay? Like, I might not literally say, I don't owe you anything, Kim, but the thought is like, that's actually probably an intrusive question that I'm not comfortable answering. You shouldn't be asking me those kinds of things because that's personal. Right? And that's just symbolic of the way it is. I'm going to build these boundaries. Don't cross them verbally. Don't cross them physically. If you ask me to go out Friday night and I don't respond, like, you should understand because maybe I was taking care of my own mental health or my own self-care.
But in the end, what that does is it alienates the person who asked you to go out. Why did you ignore me?
Well, it isolates them.
Right.
Yes.
Is that what's happening? It's isolating the folks in this generation, and it's making them be perceived as selfish?
Yes.
Or are they really selfish?
Yes, well, it's interesting because this was a USA Today article that I read, but when I went deeper, this is actually out of a Stanford professor's lab. I think it's a lab at Stanford or something. And they're studying Gen Z. And so they're seeing that. They gave great examples, like when we had to move when we were in our 20s and stuff, right? What did you do? You gathered a bunch of people, found someone who had a truck, and they helped you move, right? There used to be this standard of saying, I know how healthy your social connections are when I tell you, if you had to be picked up at the airport at 1 a.m., how many people could you count that would come? And the more people you counted that would come would be kind of an easy indicator of like, you're well connected.
Well, Gen Z has Uber.
Exactly.
That's part of the problem.
That's it. They have Uber, they have Postmates, they have ways of getting food if they need something. I don't have to call you and say, oh, I broke my leg or something. You know, do you think when you're going to the store this week, you can grab me a couple groceries? And right, like, I don't have to do that. Even if I have something that needs to be fixed in an apartment, if I'm Gen Z, go on TaskRabbit. You just basically, you go on an app and the answer to anything you need, so you don't have to talk to people. And you don't have to create that
dating. I mean, I feel like social media has done this to this generation. If you're out there in Gen Z, I have two of them. My own children that I raised. It's not an attack. It's literally a statement on how they were raised, and not necessarily as much by their parents as the world they were raised in.
Yes, they're the ones that really came in complete digital natives. And the positive of this is that they're the most mental health literate. So they really do understand, right? They do understand what a healthy boundary is. They have a sense of maybe what a toxic person is. But one of the things that was brought up is that maybe now everybody's a toxic person, or they use trauma a lot, right? Like, oh my gosh, that was traumatic. We never used to use that as like a flippant term. So now things maybe are bigger than what they really are. Like, maybe that wasn't traumatic. That was scary. Right. Was it really traumatic? Or maybe you're not really toxic. Maybe you're kind of difficult sometimes to work with, right? So they kind of have this mental health speak. And it shouldn't be used outside of professionals because we really do know what we're talking about. Like, I never talk like that. Like, just, oh, they're toxic and they're this and they're gaslighting. That's another one. Everyone's a gaslighter.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's a positive to that. They have these little warning signs, but then the downside to that is they're not really meant to be misused in this way.
So as parents of that generation or anybody like working with them or anything, what should we do?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, well, there's different answers, right? In a workplace setting, probably a manager needs to establish the norms. This is the way we communicate, because they also sometimes don't do great with confrontation.
Or constructive criticism, which is a problem in the workplace.
Exactly. So establishing how you're going to communicate, take feedback, give feedback, it really kind of does fall into line. It probably would work well, but I think that managers of maybe different generations really need to be explicit about those things. That's helpful. And in terms of parenting, same types of things. I mean, it looks a little different, but the same kind of thing. Like, don't be telling me the professor is toxic or this or that. Like, let's define that.
Yeah,
right.
Let's
Let's be qualitative. Let's not use blanket. therapy type sayings that really might be out of context.
I've heard a lot of criticism about people that I would have never criticized when I was that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, it's wild.
It is very different.
Yeah, it certainly is. I guess every generation has that.
Right. But they are lonely, right? They are a lonely generation, so that's why this is being studied. We don't want, and yet the next generation to be lonely. So
that's a good point.
We really do kind of want to work on it a little.
All right.
Oh, thank you. Come back again. We'll discuss more.
Keep working on it.
Do an hour on this.
Yes.